very good morning to you, our viewers. Welcome to it. This is the Thursday edition of the Breakfast Show. My name is Sharon Kalimula, and as usual, I am with Patrick Soko on the other chair. We will try to analyze one important issue that has been happening of late. We've had quite a number of records of these incidents, not pleasing to the ear and the eyes, Patrick.
No, not pleasing at all. A spate of murder cases in Lusaka, it has been a topical issue, especially that we are seeing quite a number of murder cases being recorded at various in various circumstances. So, what should be the solution?
What should be the solution to these increase of murder cases that are happening in the country? We've recorded quite a number of them, especially this week.
For this week, we've had about 5 or 6.
We actually describe them as gruesome, where that girl was murdered, body parts chopped off, a situation where a dog is the one that alerted people to say there's a body after picking the heads of the person, But being a human being, I think there's just a certain level of dignity that we deserve, even in death. So it's a very painful situation. And just yesterday, Patrick, one man was murdered. The other day it was an 8-year-old playing with a gun, for the grandfather. What is really happening to our country? What is the solution to these incidences? What do you think should be done is the bigger question that we're asking here. You can get interactive with us from the word go, and when I mean that, when I say that, I mean now. You can start dialing those numbers. However, we go straight into the morning boost and flex our muscles. Well, there you have it. That is the morning boost. As usual, they are trying to help us flex our muscles in the morning. Those are short workouts that you and I can do at the comfort of our homes. That is aerobics, Patrick. It's one of the simplest that I always think about when I think about going the route of exercises, because there's music. You know, you can even have a bottle of water on your side. You know, it's a little bit more on the fun side, but you're exercising. It's not as serious as that, where you lift weights, you're very quiet, you're just breathing. The only ambience around that is ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, that one is flexible.
It's flexible.
It's manageable.
Yeah. But we saw our Kaluva there doing what she does best at the back.
The back, just I'm wondering if she will lose a kilo. We'll wait and see at the end of the month.
No, I think she's, also taking exercises, it shouldn't be about losing. Of course, the majority of us in Zambia, let me not say other countries, I'll speak for my country. We start exercising when there's a healthy complication. You've been directed by a medical practitioner to say Mayo or Dada, lose the weight. Then we hit the gym. But then it shouldn't be like that. Sometimes you may just want to keep yourself fit. I hear when you exercise, you feel fresh, you feel very fresh, and you're ready to go for the day. Sometimes, yes, you want to lose weight. Sometimes you just want to maintain your body at that level. So there are different types of exercises, and if your gym instructor is a professional, they will advise you. When you register with the gym, they'll ask you, do you want to tone down, do you want to gain, do you actually, there are exercises that can make you gain, Patrick. Do you want to gain, or maybe do you just want to maintain your body, just want to keep fit, so they'll advise you what type of exercises you can take. However, for me, aerobics still stand out because there's a bit of music.
No, it's simple, and it's easy movements here.
Oh, that white man there, did you see him?
Let's go to the health
corner. He was
corner.
Dununa reversing. Anyways, let's look at the health corner.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on The Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakumia Namfaya. So this week we are talking about polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a syndrome that occurs in women, and it affects a lot of women, and so many people have it and they don't even know that they have this condition. So we discussed what is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and we say that it's a condition where a woman would have irregular menses or not having menses at all, and also they might have hyperandrogenism, which is excess production of the male hormones. And it comes about because of insulin resistance most of the times, and sometimes it might even be a genetic condition where somebody has inherited a gene that predisposes them to have this condition. So we also discussed the symptoms, and we say that it's caused by some of the symptoms are that apart from the irregular menses, they might also have facial hairs, and they may also have a falling out of hair from their head. So today I want to discuss how is it diagnosed and treated in the hospital. Now, for the diagnosis, usually they would have to do several tests in the hospital to check exactly if you have other conditions that also cause irregular menses. So there are so many other conditions that can cause you to have irregular menses, and so some tests will be done to make sure that you don't have any of those other conditions. And they may also do a thyroid test, because usually the thyroid can also affect your menses. So they would need to know how your thyroid is functioning and also how other parts of the body are functioning. Then to make sure that to see if you have cysts or not, you would need to do an ultrasound, which will be able to show that you have cysts in the ovaries. And so if you have 20 or more cysts in the ovaries, then that's when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. So usually patients with polycystic ovarian syndrome, like we have said, they have an excess of the male hormones. So they would need to check your hormone profile as well to see what type of hormones are common in your body, or what is your body producing. Is it producing more of the male hormones or the female hormones, and in what quantities? So how is it treated? So usually treatment for people with polycystic ovarian syndrome is that you need to change your lifestyle. So you need to be able to adhere to healthy lifestyle. So what that means is that you need to be exercising. For people who are obese, usually are the ones that have insulin resistance. So people who are obese or even just overweight are the ones who usually have polycystic ovarian syndrome because of their increased insulin resistance in their body. And so you need to exercise, you need to lose weight. These are some of the treatment options that are there, so that you can be able to reduce on the insulin resistance. The other thing is that you need to watch your diet, what you eat, how much you eat, and also eating healthy food, that is increasing your fiber intake and also eating more vegetables and fruits in your diet, and reducing on the amount of fat that you're eating in your diet. So these are some of the lifestyle modifications that need to be done for people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome. The other thing is that you can be given some medications. Most of the times, these are oral contraceptives that can be given to patients who have irregular menses, to be able to regulate their menstrual cycles so that they can have menses or periods every month. There are other medications as well that can be used for people who have problems with getting pregnant. So people who have irregular menses can have problems with trying to get pregnant and have a child. And so if you're trying to have a child and you are having these irregular menses, you might be given some medications to help you regulate your cycles and to also help you conceive. So the other treatment options that can be given to those that have polycystic ovarian syndrome, medications that help to reduce the amount of androgens. So androgens are the male hormones. So they'll give you some medications that help to reduce the amount of these hormones in the body so that you don't have the symptoms of hyperandrogenism, of having facial hairs and having hair loss in the head. So those are some of the treatment options that are there for people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome. I do hope you have learned something today, and don't forget that you need to be able to live a healthy lifestyle. You need to be able to take care of yourself. Whether you have polycystic ovarian syndrome or not, you still need to be able to adhere to a healthy lifestyle. So make sure you exercise, make sure you eat healthy, and make sure that you lose weight if you are overweight. So thank you for watching. Make sure you watch tomorrow again when we'll be talking about the complications of people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Thank you for watching and stay blessed.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast Show with me, Patrick Soko and Shalon Kalimbula, and we were just looking at the health corner there with Dr. Mufara.
Indeed, polycystic various ovarian syndrome.
That was what we were looking at.
Of course, yes. I feel like a doctor, you know, mentioning that makes me feel in a certain way. Soon you'll see me with the white coat. However, you too can have your say on these health conversations that we have every morning by suggesting what you want the doctor to talk about next week or the other week. She can line up a series of topics, and just help you understand, but also remember that this is not a clinic or a diagnostic center. So she just gives briefly of symptoms, signs, and probably medication or solutions. But if the symptoms persist, you visit the health center so that you're given exactly what you're supposed to do to ensure that whatever you're experiencing is done away with, using equipment. And it's a brief thing.
Yeah, it's just to get us abreast and understand various health aspects. It's not, but if you are diagnosed, you need to go to see a specialized doctor and seek a treatment or medication immediately. That's how. But here we give you. You should know. You should be able to determine the symptoms. You should be able to know the symptoms and how the diagnosis aspect. So it's not about us here saying that we are a Camnet clinic. No, we are just here to make sure that you are well informed when it comes to health matters, so that we also help you make the right decision as you stand up and make that decision to say, I'm going to the health center. You are at least in a position to know to say, I'm feeling this kind of thing. I'm suspecting it can be this or that. So that's the health corner for you. Like Sharon said, you can suggest some topics that are of interest to you so that we can equally bring them out to you.
All right, let's look at how the kwacha is faring against the major convertibles. The Great British Pound is buying at 26 kwacha 02 ngwe and selling at 26 kwacha 53 ngwe. The South African rand is at 1 kwacha and selling at 1 kwacha. That is the kwacha actually. I thought it's the South African rand. The United States dollars is at 21 kwacha 14 ngwe and selling at 21 kwacha 55 ngwe. The euro is at 22 kwacha 91 ngwe and selling at 23 kwacha 36 ngwe. The South African rand is at 1 kwacha 17 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 19 ngwe. Those are your money markets as of today, the 30th of March 2023. I don't know why the kwacha was against itself.
And I saw it disappear.
I was like, okay, the rand has depreciated. That's good for us who buy things from SA.
Yeah, because that range is only for the kwacha and the rand.
So yeah, I felt excited, but then the person just did like a party poop on me and removed the figures, However, today the Democratic Summit is on physically. Yesterday it was on, but it was a virtual one. And President Hakainde Hichilema also issued a statement there and opening statement. Antonio Guterres, UN Secretary General, also issued a statement where he noted a number of things, Patrick, to say democracy is under threat in most countries, and he called for countries to put deliberate steps that will ensure that democracy is protected. He cited quite a number of things, media interference, where the arrest or killing of journalists globally has increased by over 50%. It's a serious concern that each one of us needs to look at as countries. Leaders need to speak against this. They need to protect the journalists. And also yesterday, Patrick, Prudence and I attended a meeting where we were discussing issues to do with protecting election observers. This being a democracy summit, it has a lot of sideline meetings, and that meeting was just part of those sideline meetings, Patrick, where they were discussing finding solutions and protecting election observers, which were at different levels, from CSOs, members of the public who could just want to monitor the election process, and also those that were coming from different political parties. According to the panel that was there, we had people from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, South Africa, and DR Congo. They expressed quite a number of issues, and the one guy from Ghana, Patrick, mentioned to say, we get arrested in the process of monitoring these elections simply because we speak out and we point out the wrongs that are supposed to be done. When you talk about democracy, issues to do with elections come as center stage, and it's key to ensure that we have free elections, we have a smooth process. Election observers are in the country in time, not where they come 3-4 days to the elections. This sometimes is, you find that those people were beaten, the violence that was experienced has been calmed down, So it's important that election observers come in the country, prior for a longer period, I think even 3 months, to just see the situation so that they get the exact records. However, we will continue to track the stories coming from the Democracy Summit. Patrick here is in a suit, ready and geared to go and cover that event. So yeah, aside from that, we are discussing issues to do with the increased spate of murders in the country, and we are asking you, our viewers, what is the solution? What do you think is causing this increase in these murder cases? This is un-Zambian.
Exactly, it is un-Zambian, and we are concerned. I'm sure everyone else is concerned, because we're seeing these cases escalate, and we are seeing that the escalation of junkies also is proving to be a difficult challenge which every community is grappling with. And it seems while law enforcement area wings like the Zambia Police are doing their bit to ensure that they mitigate this crime, it is not easy, because it is happening in multiple communities.
Exactly.
So it is they are conducting some operations, but you know, these gangs, where immediately after the police go, they demobilize and continue on their act of terrorizing members of the general public. And those who find themselves unfortunate, especially at night, are being attacked.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that these same people, young people, are coming from houses, and we're seeing that they're taking out the violence in their houses, and that's in their homes, and it is becoming a challenge. You know, it also reflects to us as a country on various issues and aspects of poor parenting, among other aspects. So we can get to look at that story, Sharon, where we saw that man who killed his stepfather.
Indeed, a 21-year-old man of Lusaka's Helen Kaunda just here has murdered his 63-year-old stepfather after it is alleged that he denied him a 100 kwacha. John Katongo murdered his stepfather Pombewe in the early hours of Wednesday by injuring him multiple times at the head with an unknown instrument, where he died instantly. And some neighbors spoken to have called for the closure of Helen Kaunda Market, where most junkies or community gangs are spending time drinking and smoking. Meanwhile, police deputy spokesperson Danny Mwale confirmed the development and said the suspect returned home from a drinking spree few hours before he committed the crime. Let's look at this story, among other stories that we've covered this week.
Residents of Lusaka's Elenkaunda area Wednesday morning woke up to a disturbing sight in which a lifeless body of a 63-year-old stepfather identified as Pombewe, who is alleged to have been murdered by his 21-year-old stepson, identified as John Katongo, over 100 kwacha, it is alleged he refused to give him. The wife to the deceased could not hold her tears as she witnessed the lifeless body of her husband lying in a pool of blood few minutes after spending a night together. Some residents who were still traumatized by the incident could not believe what their community had witnessed, and when spoken to, says the suspect was a junkie who, in the company of other friends, has been terrorizing community members who are now living in fear.
The best way the police should come in, because they sit as a group, they attack everyone who passes just to get the phones. So we are not happy here in Helen Kaunda. We are scared even to move. Even our children there, at least. We are very saddened what has happened. Just for somebody kills the parent. We are not happy. It was my neighbor. You know, I can't even say much. I'm traumatized. Because the time it happened, I had switched off the lights. I have these security lights at my place. So the moment I switched it off, I just heard some noise. So I thought maybe they were just passerbys. Then I went to sleep. It was too much. I came, I switched it on. Then that's when I was called. The same boy called me, auntie. When I came outside, I just found the man lying there. The stepson, that was the stepfather.
Others have called on the authority to consider closing most bars at Elenkaunda Market, where most junkies have been spending their time drinking and smoking weed.
Acho tulefa ko ba watu afuishe ko ba government ama chanki afura mu Helen Kaunda mu chi market chiba chisalomo bakolero wala ma drugs. Baba kuse wonse abana ama chanki saba chire chana nguchimo baba fwa ko chi national service ko baba twale baba fwa ile ko efia kuchita. Because they are just idle, that's why they are killing people.
Mbea chape chongo kuma 03 358 na mbea chape chongo help me then nimpera muntapunda kuti nizakupaya leo kulibwa mana zabo kutandiza ndipo mimi nambo tumila kuma neighbors phone my intense tayo poto katenzo mga bali armed tenzo ganza ni wakawala so boma yanga nepu abachosa mu nyumba ndio amena paya batate bake lero this morning early morning so tayo pese kuno ku Helen Kaunda government yanga nepu pali bana bavyamba bachinana
afana chamba dobo era in fact suma attacking here vachitika ni chamba afana chivalengesa kwazisa so.
Meanwhile, Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale has confirmed the development to Camnet News and explains that the suspect, who stayed with his stepfather, now deceased, returned from a drinking spree on the 28th of March 2023 at around 16 hours. Members of the house were later, around 04 hours Wednesday, awakened by the noise from the deceased who was screaming for help, and that the suspect was later found assaulting the deceased with a fork. After interventions, the deceased managed to escape outside the yard, but that the suspect followed him and killed him instantly with a known object. Police have since arrested the suspect, while the body of the deceased has been picked and deposited in the University Teaching Hospital mortuary, awaiting post-mortem and burial. May his soul rest in peace.
Someone to help me.
Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Despite being of economic importance and connecting traders to various markets, many roads in Zambian communities are in a dilapidated state, and some areas are even cut off for vehicles during periods like the rain season. This is despite many of these having been worked on in recent years using huge sums of taxpayers' money. The situation has brought concerns of road quality, with an emphasis that roadworks which will be done going forward should be able to stand the test of time. For residents of Lima Ward 30 of George Compound in Lusaka, the community is a beehive, as residents both...
At only 8 years old, this little boy of Lusaka's Makeni East in Chalma constituency has failed to understand exact what might have happened. What seems like a normal play out with his friend turned into a tragedy after he allegedly shot dead his 11-year-old friend using his grandfather's firearm. Upon arriving at the crime scene, the deceased mother could not handle the news. Eyewitnesses were traumatized and failed to explain what transpired. However, information obtained on the ground has revealed that the juvenile invited the deceased, identified as John Sakala, to his house so that he could have a look at a firearm his grandfather owns. Full of excitement, wanting to show his friend the firearm, the little boy allegedly pulled the trigger, killing his friend instantly. Some of the eyewitnesses spoken to have expressed concern and urged parents fond of keeping firearms to place such in much secured area.
Let's hear a gunshot. We are the one who took the boy to the police. Since Pamenza Chitika, I was not there. And we have to secure the guns as parents. When we have guns at home, we know that we've got children. So we have to secure those guns.
We need security for our little ones. Yeah, because this is sad. we need to look out for our kids, yeah, whom they are hanging around with. Yeah, we need to know and take good care of our children.
According to eyewitnesses, the grandfather of the 8-year-old boy, aged 72 years old, is a retired Zambia Army officer. Meanwhile, police spokesperson Danny Mwale says the firearm was already loaded.
Police suspect that the firearm was already loaded with ammunition by the owner, identified as Mason Nyirenda, aged 72, of Makeni East. The body of the deceased has been taken to the University Teaching Hospital mortuary, awaiting post-mortem, while Mr. Nyirenda has been charged and arrested with the offense of failing to secure a firearm, while the boy who has shot at his friend has been taken to the social welfare for safe custody.
While at the crime scene, we were reminded that police officers needed more vehicles to effectively curb crimes in communities. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
It is an unexpected turn from the usual reports of a man killing his wife after stab wounds from a 19-year-old woman have allegedly led to the death of her 24-year-old husband. The scenario at this House of Garden House compound in Lusaka, which is the alleged crime scene, has a story to tell, as the door is unhinged with scattered bottles all over the floor in the house where the fight leading to the death is said to have happened. According to a police statement by Zambia Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale, the woman identified as Donisa Chilumelume and her husband identified as Lakson Chizieya got into a fight when the man, after coming from a drinking spree, found his wife talking to another man. Landlord of the premises, Alex Manunga, has first-hand information stating that the duo took turns in stabbing each other using one glass bottle in the wee hours of Sunday morning. This led to the man dying at Kanyama Level 1 Hospital in the wee hours of Monday morning due to the heavy bleeding he experienced after the incident.
Apolisi sibabwira nachoka hapo kuyambosa kila transport na bwana sekula pale baba bali wana baba na bobera motoka ya bwera ya bula imirira after imirira tinaona rat kurusa polisi ya bwera barandro dwa kambati since inatumira polisi nati abantu bapaya na kuno kwelani chabe mmanja ndani ya polisi kuti mufike buno bwino
vaikeko nzero ku ministry yao chifukwa sichioneka bwino elo inkani yofera muntu pa floor siza silira apa ikali kuyenda kusogolo boma ikaliko imatandiza monga mavuto yaso sinapeleke mwana wanga kuti afera kunyumba wati monga ti afera kunyumba vama mchita atendi na kumwika mu mortuary room manje mwana afera mu hospital nisichinala kuika nchiani na kubukinga motoka pamene pa hospital kuti kuniuza kuti mwana wako wamene amwalira saza gona mochari yapano pa Kanyama Level 1 Hospital mwana wako wafunika kupeleka ku UTH ali responsible body kuti aipeleke ku UTH ngati ili under management ndine loko ni management.
The father and mother of the deceased however have a different complaint stating that police delayed to arrive at the scene due to transport challenges. They have also alleged that their loved one died on the floor as he was discharged from Kanyama Level 1 Hospital due to the lack of space, and that the family was told to transport the body to the University Teaching Hospital UTH mortuary on their own.
Where they were taken to the clinic, both of them, with the family members. My appeal unto our government, I think the community, the way it is Garden House, is very vast and it has grown. The population is very high. Garden House on its own, we are supposed to have not less than 3 police posts. Then from there, again, unto the Ministry of Home Affairs, we are requesting that Kanyama constituency is just too big for it to have 1 land cruiser. Therefore, we are appealing unto the government if they can help us to come up with at least in each, maybe in each police post, to have a mobile vehicle.
The accused woman is currently at Kanyama police station, while 2 young children have been left half orphaned. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
There you have it, very sad stories there that we keep covering, we keep recording as a country. And Patrick, that's just a fraction of what is happening countrywide. Some stories even go unreported.
Yes, you're right.
Know? But these are just some of the stories that go reported and people call and want you to highlight what is happening in their various localities. Very sad situation. And the question we are asking this morning is, what is the solution to such incidences? And this week, Patrick, these cases have been spread across, you know, from a baby who's 8, for me that's a baby, you know, a child to an adult to, you know, it's just spread across. We cannot even say this age group or this age group, everybody is at risk.
It's all over, like we are saying, various age group in terms of categories there. The elderly, the children, the young, the youths, you know. We are recording murder cases. And you rightly put it in your preamble, where we also had a case where that other child was equally murdered and dismembered. And, you know, all those cases are making us wonder to say, where are we going? What is happening?
Where are we going as a country? Is this what we want to be seeing in the near future? What has gone wrong? Do we need to go back to the drawing board? And what is the solution? What should we do to just end these criminal activities? For me, I think it's criminal.
You don't have to think. It's criminal.
It's criminal. Yeah, you don't do that. No, you know, especially.
Yeah, and it's Zambian, it's inhuman. You understand. So we need to just make sure that we try to prescribe the right solutions to this problem. Maybe we are becoming too passive as a country, that we are seeing some things as normal because it's affecting one family or the other. But at the end of the day, it is now affecting the entire country. Whatever affects the other family may be affecting you the next day. So what are some of the solutions can we prescribe to this problem of crime, and especially when it comes to murder cases? You, our dear viewers, we are getting your perspective now, in case you think there is something that can be done for us as a country to just eliminate these crimes. You can give us that call, and we get interacting right now on the Camnet Breakfast Show, because at the end of the day, we are seeing that quite all right, the Zambia police and other law enforcement agencies are working hard to curb crime, but just like the media itself, they cannot be everywhere. So sometimes you discover while you are on the other side, crime is also happening on the other side. But what is a long-lasting solution to these problems? They'll be there, but now if they continue to escalate, it brings a lot of worry, especially that we are seeing it in various age groups. Is it the issue of parenting? Are we doing enough to ensure that we raise our children into responsible citizens? Are we making sure that our children are in school? And when they are in school, are they doing the right things? All those aspects need to be interrogated to ensure that we find a solution. Because just this week, again, we saw another boy who stabbed his colleagues at school. And that's another sad story.
Very sad story indeed. We have a caller. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
All right, I think we missed that call. You were still talking?
Yes, I was explaining that case pertaining to this boy who was actually in school. He was being demanded by a school prefect, and he resorted to violence, and he had to stab his colleagues with a sharp object. But now it tells you to say, where are they getting these deviant behaviors? You know, for me, I've observed that we have also become loosely as parents, in that sometimes when we hand over our gadgets, our electronic gadgets such as phones, laptops, tablets, we do not put in place safety measures to say this you cannot do, this you can do, but we allow them to use them at will. So that tends to affect what children see, because at the end of the day, you become a product of what you see. If you see on these social media platforms, everything pops up, nude videos, nude pictures, pops up, violent films, violent whatever. But you see, you cannot control that, because most of the films are usually not rated 18. You discover that now this child who is only 5 years is being subjected to such content. But are we doing enough to ensure that children are not exposed to such things? So we are children are finding themselves accessing information they shouldn't be consuming at that age. Hence, they end up doing things that only the elderly should be doing, and they are doing them as children. So at the end of the day, we are seeing we are raising a society that is not guided.
Indeed, Patrick. Do you have a caller? Hello, good morning. Hello. Wow. Let's take a short break, and when we return, we continue the conversation. The break will take us to a story where the National Democratic Congress President leader, Saboy Mboila, has charged that the United Party for National Development is working hard to undermine the country's democracy. Ms. Mboila alleges that the UPND heads the noise of democracy, hence it has opted to send its critics to court. Let's look at this story as we officially wait to have the physical democracy summit. President Hakainde Hichilema is already at the venue. That's KK Wing at Mulungushi International Conference Center, where the event is being held. And soon we will start seeing all those tweets coming through with whatever statement he will be giving there. We will follow that. Let's look at this story from one opposition leader, Saboy Mboila.
As the country co-hosts the second summit for democracy with the United States of America, the government of Costa Rica, Netherlands, and the Republic of Korea, critics feel Zambia needs to do more to improve its democratic credentials. Some opposition political parties in the country are accusing the governing United Party for National Development of shrinking the civic space by allegedly silencing dissenting voices on governance matters. National Democratic Congress President Saboy Mboila has charged that the UPND hates the noise of democracy, hence has opted to send its critics to the courts using what she termed as archaic laws, such as the law on criminal defamation.
It is very, very disturbing, and disappointing to see the state of democracy in the country under the UPND, because the UPND are trying as much as possible, to lessen our voices, to lessen the space for democracy in the country. That is why you see that if you go to the courts, for example, almost every politician who is not UPND is in court facing one charge or the other. And a lot of them flimsy charges, for that matter. So I always urge people out there, be it the media, be it the public, I always urge them to go to court and see what is going on at the moment. And also this thing which has come about, where there is this thing of putting things, even defamation, to be criminal defamation. At the end of the day, I'll give an example of the recent case of Muniez Zulu and the two ministers, the finance minister and the minister for infrastructure. They gave him criminal defamation.
The opposition leader has since urged President Hakainde Hichilema to stop backing his ministers implicated in corruption allegations.
Democracy is really being threatened, and for me also, I'd like to urge the president, he should not support his ministers. When a case of corruption has been brought to the table, investigate, and that is why also from the onset we've been condemning the fact that the SCC is under the president's office, because when it comes to the appeal process, the president should be the last person, but right now the way it is, the president is the number one person. So corruption and democracy, for me, I think these things are things which, if you look at it the way it is at the moment, I think it's really becoming a funny corruption fight, and also a threatened kind of democracy under the UPND. And also, more than that, if you look at institutions of our democracy, I've been saying that the UPND is actually practicing institutional violence. Okay, we saw physical violence by the PF government, so it was easy for people to see that there's violence, because you could see cadres beating people.
Meanwhile, Intra-Africa Governance Network AFRINET Executive Director Mollis Malambo says as the country co-hosts the Democracy Summit, there is a need for unity of purpose.
And that can leverage the flow of direct foreign investment into the country, and the flow of inflows of tourism into the country and contribute to changing the complexion of our economy. Lastly, we must as a people learn to rise above sectarian interest, for once on matters such as these ones, to rally behind a common agenda of celebrating the honor and perfecting our democracy.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Calls from leaders of different countries to strengthen and defend democratic values have taken center stage in the second Summit for Democracy, which officially opened today, Wednesday, 29th March 2023. Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema was among the world leaders who called for the defending of democratic values. President Hichilema further stressed the need to protect and defend free and fair elections.
And together, we are defending the human rights and fundamental freedoms of journalists, activists, civil society, and indeed members of vulnerable communities who are too often ignored by those in public office. So, together, we must continue to fight for free and fair elections.
Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres observed that democracy and the rule of law are under threat across the globe.
But today, in many parts of the world, these values are under assault. The walls are closing in on civic spaces, constitutional rights are being curtailed, and civil liberties are being eroded. Freedom of expression is in free fall. Dissenting voices are silenced.
Among the African heads of state that delivered keynote addresses include the presidents of Kenya and Botswana.
A governance system which vigorously demonstrates uncompromising accountability, robust checks and balances, total transparency, and participation by the people from the grassroots all the way to the top.
Our democratic ideals and economic transformation have long been set on a strong foundation of principles of democracy, development, unity, and self-reliance.
The two-day summit, which is co-hosted by the United States, the Netherlands, Costa Rica, the Republic of Korea, and Zambia, is focusing on reviving and protecting democracy against autocratic leadership. For Zanis, I'm Lakson Makodza.
Several election observer organizations from different African countries Wednesday convened in Lusaka, Zambia for a meeting focused on defending citizens' election observer rights in Africa, posing back against closing space and administrative handlers. In speaking at the event, Christian Churches Monitoring Group CCMG chairperson Father Alex Muyebe says he wants to see the adoption of some of the recommendations made by the election observers in order to ensure that they are protected from any form of arrest in their line of duty.
More democratic societies need to push for stronger protections for citizen election observers to serve as a model to make it more difficult for authoritarians to undermine observer rights in their countries. Third, we should embrace the recommendation for a first ever systematic assessment of observer rights across Africa and around the world.
And some panelists from Sierra Leone, Ghana, Uganda, and Zambia who are part of election observers shared their past experiences.
True election observers were arrested in Uganda for observing elections that they were accredited to do. A total of 28 election observers were detained for 6 days and they had to report to police for another 6 months.
With regards to observing voter registration, well, I would say that the commission here was not even prepared to have monitors accredited for the process. So CCMG really took it upon itself to press upon the commission to be able to accredit. So we managed to have our monitors accredited.
I have slept in offices of electoral commission for 2 days trying to sort out observation, accreditation cards and so on.
Meanwhile, United States Agency for International Development USAID Assistant Administrator for Africa, Dr. Monde Muyangwa, says our organization will continue to sponsor citizen-led election observers who she says are key at ensuring that citizens' rights are respected in any election.
We encourage all of you sitting in this room to work even more closely to defend and advance citizen observation rights around the world. Besides the locally led, we do not partner with you to be in the lead. That does not work. We partner to support, to walk alongside you, to give wind behind your backs, because that's the model that works in terms of Africans being in the lead of their own future and their own destiny of the Africa that they want to see.
For democracy and the will of the people to fully prevail in any election, there is a need to allow the participation of several actors such as civil society and the community itself in monitoring how the electoral processes of any country is being conducted pre, during and after the election. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
There you have it. Quite interesting stories we're looking at on the Democracy Summit and other stories there. The opposition in the country have been arguing to say Zambia's democracy is still under threat under the United Party for National Development, and that was Savoy Imbwela bringing on an account that there has been interference by the government using state institutions such as the ECZ. She suggested that the ECZ is being used to disadvantage opposition political parties from contesting election at the point of a nomination.
Exactly.
Now, those are allegations. But she also suggested that the UPND, if everyone else criticizes them, they want to send them to the court so that they spend more time before the court grounds, so that they are kept busy and they are made block and have a challenge to contest the elections in the year 2026, because you'd have spent a lot of money.
You would have spent a lot of money going to the courts back and forth, because it's not a cheap undertaking, Patrick.
Yeah, you're right.
Going to court, paying the lawyers and all, it's very expensive. However, the Democracy Summit is yet to be physical today, and President Hakainde Hichilema is already at the building where the venue is. That is Mulungushi International Conference Center. Like Prudence had mentioned in her story, a number of stakeholders are here from various parts of the country. While we are co-hosting as Zambia, other countries are also part of it, and they are here just to have a conversation surrounding issues to do with democracy and how best we can strengthen our democracy. Like I mentioned earlier, the UN Secretary General also highlighted a number of issues, and those are the issues that these technocrats, these experts are here to talk about. We've got CSOs from different countries like Ghana, Uganda, Sierra Leone, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Africa. They are here in the country trying to see how best this conversation can be amplified and see how member states can learn from one another in terms of ensuring that people are protected in various sectors of the economy, especially those sectors that enhance democracy.
Yeah, our topic of discussion is we are trying to find solution to the increasing murder cases in Zambia. Area where we had some few callers, however, we had a challenge with our line, but we have worked on it. You can now call us and give us your perspective on this topic of discussion. We have seen a feedback on our Facebook page. We appreciate your perspective, suggesting that parents will have to do more to ensure that we secure, we protect our children. And it also borders on the upbringing of our children. We need to make sure that our children are well kept and that they are taught all the right manners in terms of, so that they can grow up into responsible citizens. You know, the opposite is true. Yeah.
Wow. Hello, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you? Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, I'm calling from Dora.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, actually what I can say about the murder cases, what I've observed is too much of alcohol abuse and drug abuse. Then secondly, there is no proper counseling when it comes to parents. So as parents, we need to take time to counsel our children, because nowadays it's more like good children, they just been brought up without proper counseling. Then when it comes to like murder cases and rape, I think on that one, the government has to put a strong policy whereby if someone is found doing that, has to be charged accordingly.
Okay.
Yes, that's my contribution this morning. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. You too can have your say on this important conversation that we are having this morning. Indeed, Patrick, like yesterday, I think I touched briefly on this. Like we are too busy as parents. We don't sometimes pay attention to what's happening to our children. There's a lot of vices out there.
You mentioned another interesting aspect, alcohol and substance abuse.
Exactly.
And that we are allowing that to thrive in this country. First of all, it does not only undermine our productivity, it also undermines our thinking. It also undermines
your thinking.
It also stimulates crime because people have to find quick means of finding money. And what do? Attack people to just get something to go and buy those drugs, to buy alcohol. That's what is happening in most communities, and I cannot agree more with our caller there.
Indeed.
And as a country, we need to pay attention to this issue.
Yeah.
People are abusing a lot of drugs.
A lot of drugs in the market, and drugs that can be sold over the counter, like benylin.
Yeah, that has been a common one as well.
It's been a very common one, and we need to work on it. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning. You are through to the breakfast show.
Okay, we lost that call. Keep trying, and let's have a conversation on this important topic. We need to find solutions. You know, it may not go to the authority. They may not do it according to the way you wish, but at least somebody out there may learn one or two things on how to raise their child, or maybe how to just observe and monitor all these things. I think next week we'll have somebody.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to the Zambia police and those mental experts as well.
These are things we need to even put, you know, sometimes parents would put things like as a reminder, like especially those who are very religious, you know, they'll put a verse in the house just to remind you, you know, like the plans I have for you are not to destroy you, but to build you. You know, like, so that when you wake up every day in the morning, you're reminded of God's plan over your life. Equally, I think we should start doing those things, saying, no, maybe drugs are bad, drugs are what, drugs, and then you just stick it on the wall somewhere so that your children can be reminded. It's a simple steps that
we do not monitor these children. Yes, again, Shan, you're right. The child comes, you're not concerned about where they've been, how they have spent their day. You allow them. Again, they'll do the same tomorrow.
Maybe at 21 hours, even outside.
Yeah, so where they go, you don't know what happens. They attack other people's children, they attack other people, and they come very quiet. Next time, they will attack the people in the house.
Exactly.
That's what has been happening.
Because, you know, we some time back we'll talk about gender-based violence cases, Patrick, where we say the perpetrators are the ones that stay with the victims in the house, especially when it comes to defilement of, you know, children being defiled. The perpetrators usually are the people they know within the circles. It has now gone to murder cases or criminal activities. Back then you would find at home they're very peaceful, they're very quiet. But the children are actually killing their parents in the house, you know. So the crime is brought to household level, you know. Then it was just GBV cases, where this, you know, defilement. But now even murders are happening at a household level.
Yeah, because, you know, because with this cycle that we have created, you find that someone is they are classified as junkies, like which is a common term now in Zambia. Now the same junkies now amongst themselves they give birth to a child. Now a child again, how do you expect a child to be responsible?
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle now. It's a cycle now. They just like it was those days used to be just street kids within the streets. Now it's even in our homes now because these same people we call junkies. They come from our homes.
They come from homes and they do all sorts of things, Patrick. So we want to see a change. We want to see a change. Let's be monitoring what our children are doing, what they're experiencing, what they are watching. I think let's go back to being strict. You know, let's go back to being strict. Because sometime back, Patrick, at 18, 30, no. Even at 25, sometimes your mother, when she finds you that you're drinking, she's shocked. But you know, like nowadays,
people
a child
start
at
drinking.
18, at 19, they're even drinking with their father.
You see? Others start drinking as late as 8 hours.
They start drinking with their parents, like
Their
they're
parents,
chilling.
you know, and you think it's normal.
Are you
At the end of the day, you are destroying this child. So I think we have a lot to do as a country to ensure that we restore sanity, because that's the spread of crime is not it's not good overall, and we have to just make sure that we pay attention.
Indeed, Patrick, that is a very sad situation, and we need to find.
So we can recall our story from the Nkaunda. We just recall the story so that those who have missed what we're talking about can just get what the story is about.
Indeed, let's play that story once more, and when we return, we'll talk briefly about it and close the show, as we are rushing to monitor or to cover the Democracy Summit, another important event in the history of our country.
At only 8 years old, this little boy of Lusaka's Makeni East in Chalma constituency has failed to understand exact what might have happened. What seems like a normal play out with his friend turned into a tragedy after he allegedly shot dead his 11-year-old friend using his grandfather's firearm. Upon arriving at the crime scene, the deceased mother could not handle the news.
Residents of Lusaka's Elenkaunda area Wednesday morning woke up to a disturbing sight in which a lifeless body of a 63-year-old stepfather identified as Pombewe, who is alleged to have been murdered by his 21-year-old stepson, identified as John Katongo, over 100 kwacha, it is alleged he refused to give him. The wife to the deceased could not hold her tears as she witnessed the lifeless body of her husband lying in a pool of blood few minutes after spending a night together. Some residents who were still traumatized by the incident could not believe what their community had witnessed, and when spoken to, says the suspect was a junkie who in the company of other friends has been terrorizing community members who are now living in fear.
The best way the police should come in, because they sit as a group, they attack everyone who passes just to get the phones. So we're not happy here in Elenkaunda. We are scared even to move. Even our children, they at least. We are very saddened what has happened. Just for somebody kills the parent. We are not happy.
It was my neighbor. You know, I can't even say much. I'm traumatized. Because the time it happened, I had switched off the lights. I have these security lights at my place. So the moment I switched it off, I just heard some noise. So I thought maybe they were just passerbys. Then I went to sleep. It was too much. I came, I switched it on. Then that's when I was called. The same boy called me, auntie. When I came outside, I just found the man lying there. The stepson, that was the stepfather.
Others have called on the authority to consider closing most bars at Elenkaunda Market, where most junkies have been spending their time drinking and smoking weed.
Government amachanki afura mu Elenkaunda mu market kiba kisalomo bakolero wala ma drugs baba kuse wonse abana amachanki abashire cyana ngukimo bafaye ko nation service eko babatwale baba sifaire ko efya kuchita because they are just idle. That's why they are killing people.
Mbya chape chongo kuma 03 358 na mbya chape chongo help me then nimpera muntapunda kuti nizakupaya leo kulibwa bana zabo kutandiza ndipo mimi nambo tumila kuma neighbors phone my intense tayo pocho katenzoona munga bali armed tenzo ganza ni wakawala so boma yanga nefu abacho sa munyumba ndio amena paya watate wake lero this morning early morning so tayo pese kuno Elenkaunda government yanga nefu pali bana bavyamba bachinanga
afana chamba dobo era in fact suma attacking here vachitika ni chamba afana chivalengesa kwa zisasu.
Meanwhile, Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale has confirmed the development to Camnet News and explains that the suspect, who stayed with his stepfather, now deceased, returned from a drinking spree on the 28th of March 2023 at around 16 hours. Members of the house were later, around 04 hours Wednesday, awakened by the noise from the deceased who was screaming for help, and that the suspect was later found assaulting the deceased with a fork. After interventions, the deceased managed to escape outside the yard, but that the suspect followed him and killed him instantly with a known object. Police have since arrested the suspect, while the body of the deceased has been picked and deposited in the University Teaching Hospital mortuary, awaiting post-mortem and burial. May his soul rest in peace.
Someone to help me.
Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Camnet Breakfast, though we are in the dying minutes, and our focus this morning has been to just discuss and hopefully find solutions to the spate of increased violence cases in the country. This week we've recorded quite a number of them, Patrick, where murders have been recorded for at various ages, starting from the 8-year-old, that 21-year-old, that schoolgirl was murdered on her way home, you know, and like I mentioned earlier, a dog is the one that alerted them to say there's a body this side after it was discovered that it came back with the head of a human being. Very sad situation. I can only imagine the relatives or the parents to that girl and what they went through upon seeing that. So we hope that the authorities will take keen interest on the calls that have been made from various stakeholders. Yesterday, just here in Helen County, that's my hood, by the way, where a 21-year-old killed his stepfather for unknown reasons, allegedly after he refused to give him a bit of some money, which is not even worth taking somebody's life for. But we hope that with time, patrols will be done, and the calls that were made by the residents will be hit to by the police, because really Helen County Market, Patrick, is a bar zone. It's been turned into a place where people just drink alcohol from. A market is supposed to sell different things, vegetables, different products, but then it has just been turned into a bar zone. And we hope that the council, in collaboration with line officers, will look into the matter with the urgency it deserves.
This is where we call it a day. Until next week, when we come with another interesting episode of the Camnet Breakfast Show, governance, policy and politics, with me, Patrick Soko and Sharon Kalimbula. Keep it on Camnet.
Good morning.